Hold on, stop scrolling for just a second. What if I told you that the absolute most common advice given to women who are trying to conceive is actually the worst possible advice you could ever get? Seriously, women are constantly told to turn into a literal couch potato, just sitting there not moving a muscle. As a medical specialist, I'm here today in this explainer to completely turn everything you thought you knew about fertility and fitness upside down. We are absolutely not going to treat your amazing body like some fragile glass vase that shatters if you touch it. No way. Instead, we are going to look at it through the lens of our faith, as an amanah, a magnificent, sacred trust given to us by God. Your body was beautifully designed to move, to be incredibly strong, and to handle absolute physical mountains. It was not designed to be locked away on a sofa to collect dust the second you think about starting a family. So let's dive right into the real science together and bust some of these ridiculous myths.
So does completely resting and doing absolutely nothing actually speed up your chances of getting pregnant? Let me guess. You've probably heard that taking a brisk walk or lifting a dumbbell is going to somehow shake loose a potential pregnancy. That is absolutely 100% false. It's a huge myth. So many women fall victim to this terrifying idea that the minute they start trying to conceive, they need to halt all physical effort. But medically speaking, let's look at what actually happens. When you just stop moving suddenly, you aren't resting your body. What you're actually doing is weakening your blood circulation. And guess what? Robust, healthy blood flow is absolutely crucial for nourishing your uterus. On top of that, sudden inactivity spikes your cortisol levels. That's your stress hormone. And it sends these literal alarm bells to your brain that your body is in some abnormal, sickly state of hibernation.
I want you to imagine sitting in a doctor's office, feeling anxious, and the doctor looks at you and says, "Don't do any exercise. Do nothing at all." It drives me absolutely crazy, because this catastrophic advice is still being handed out today. Let me be clear. Turning into a stressed-out couch potato does absolutely zero favors for your fertility, and it's a disaster for your mental health. A lot of this stems from incredibly outdated, unjustified fears. The undeniable truth is that the constant stress and anxiety of just sitting around, nervously waiting to get pregnant, is the #1 enemy of your fertility. And what's the absolute best enemy of that stress? Smart, structured, regular exercise. It's a remarkably simple equation, but one that gets ignored all the time.
Let's talk about the concept of amana. Your body is a profound blessing. It is an amana, a sacred trust placed directly into your hands. In our belief system, neglecting the strength and health of this body just to wait for a pregnancy completely contradicts the very idea of preparing for motherhood. Think about it. Motherhood is arguably the most physically and psychologically demanding mission a human being can undertake. It requires massive energy, endless patience, and strong muscles capable of carrying a child that gets heavier literally every single day, not to mention lugging around heavy car seats and strollers. How on earth can we fulfill this sacred mana if we are intentionally letting our muscles and joints wither away and grow weak?
Moving into Section 1, Exercise and the Menstrual Cycle, Syncing Your Strength. Let's look at how incredibly smart your body actually is.
Now look at this, because there is a radical difference between cardio and strength training when it comes to the female body. High-intensity, exhausting cardio is kind of like a short, fun vacation. The physiological benefits fade incredibly fast. If you stop doing cardio for just a couple of weeks, boom, you lose that fitness. But strength training, resistance training, that builds a massive, long-lasting foundation. The muscle you build today is going to support your joints tomorrow, it's going to permanently boost your metabolism, and it's going to stay with you for the long haul. That is exactly why resistance training needs to be your non-negotiable foundation. You should be doing it 2 to 3 times a week, no matter what. It is the absolute cornerstone of maintaining your physical amana.
Okay, let's break down your cycle. During your follicular phase, which is the first half of your menstrual cycle, certain hormones spike, and they give you this incredible, almost superhuman energy. Your body becomes an absolute machine at handling high physical stress. This is your green light. It's the perfect time for high-intensity interval training, fast running, and really sweating it out at the gym. Your body is perfectly primed to recover quickly during these days. But, and this is a massive but, here is the secret. You have to be totally in tune with your body. We must consciously and immediately adjust our routine the second the luteal phase hits, which is the second half of your cycle.
So what happens in the luteal phase? Well, progesterone steps onto the stage. Its main job is to prep your uterine lining for a potential pregnancy, but the trade-off is that it severely drains your energy and starts eagerly hoarding a caloric reserve. Your muscles get fatigued so much faster and your core body temperature actually goes up. And here is the scariest medical fact. 58% of women who insist on vigorous, intense running during this phase actually develop a luteal phase defect. That literally lowers your chances of getting pregnant. So the golden rule is crystal clear. Dial way down on the intense, exhausting cardio to avoid inflammation. But, and this is absolutely crucial, you keep up your core strength training to maintain that precious muscle mass.
Now we move to Section 2, IVF, Beware the Balloons. Listen up, because if you are going through the delicate process of IVF treatments, the physical rules of the game shift dramatically, and you really need to pay attention here.
During an IVF cycle, you're taking medications to stimulate your ovaries so they produce a whole bunch of eggs all at once, instead of just the usual one. Because of this, your ovaries become incredibly enlarged and very, very heavy. We have strict, highly specific medical recommendations during this time to prevent a truly terrifying, painful complication called ovarian torsion. This is a surgical emergency. It's exactly as bad as it sounds. Those heavy, stimulated ovaries can physically twist around the ligaments that support them, entirely cutting off their own blood flow. It's excruciating, and it requires immediate emergency surgery.
To make this easy to visualize, I always give my patients this exact analogy. Right now, during the stimulation phase, I want you to picture your ovaries as big, heavy water balloons completely full to the brim, just sitting down there in your pelvis. Our absolute #1 priority during these days is to make sure those water balloons stay exactly where they are, safe and sound, without bouncing around or jiggling violently.
So with these water balloons in mind, what can you actually do safely? Can you do a seated bicep curl to work your upper body? Yes, absolutely. Your balloons are safely rooted and stable. Can you do a slow, highly controlled squat? For sure, the balloons remain perfectly steady in your pelvis. But running, jumping rope, no way. These rapid, vertical movements will cause dangerous, aggressive jiggling and bouncing. That bouncing could literally cause those heavy balloons to flip and twist, landing you straight in an emergency operating room. The golden rule for IVF is this: keep your pelvis completely stable and continue quietly and carefully strengthening the rest of your muscles.
Welcome to Section 3, Pregnancy is not an excuse for laziness. It's time we stop treating the pregnant body like some fragile piece of antique china that needs to be bubble-wrapped. The pregnant body is an incredibly strong, capable miracle.
As a doctor, I find it incredibly frustrating to look at official medical guidelines, like those from major obstetrics colleges. If you look closely, you'll see they obsess almost entirely over cardiac activity. They're demanding 150 minutes of cardio a week, leaving just a tiny, forgotten sliver for what actually matters most. That ignored sliver is building a skeletal muscle. And ironically, building skeletal muscle is what most directly and physically benefits a pregnant woman during her pregnancy and her eventual labor.
Let's be totally real for a second. Telling a woman who is dealing with relentless morning sickness, who is utterly exhausted, and who feels like she's on a rocky boat in the middle of a storm during her first trimester, telling her she needs to go do 150 minutes of intense cardio, that is an absolute massive barrier. It's borderline ridiculous. This impossible demand is exactly why so many women just throw their hands up, give up out of sheer fear and exhaustion, and end up being best friends with their sofa for the next 9 months.
But there is a smart, practical solution, and it doesn't involve balancing heavy Olympic barbells that might make you fall over. Step 1, you can simply use guided gym machines. They are incredibly safe, they keep you totally balanced even as your center of gravity completely changes with your growing belly, and they allow you to maintain or even build muscle mass throughout your entire pregnancy. The real medical secret here is regulating your intra-abdominal pressure. Learn how to breathe properly while lifting, and then progressively and comfortably overload the weight to match your changing capabilities. Section 4, Preparing for the Postpartum Battle. Now, why are we pushing so hard to maintain this physical armor? Because the absolute biggest secret, the part nobody really warns you about, is the brutal physical battle that comes right after the baby is born.
Keeping up your strength training and building muscle while pregnant pays off with mind-blowing rewards. You get significantly better sleep, you have energy levels that actually let you function like a human being, and you build incredible armor against lower back pain. But here's the absolute kicker. What if you already have a 1-year-old toddler at home? A 10-kilo toddler who demands to be carried constantly while you are heavily pregnant with your second. Your pre-existing muscle strength is literally the only thing that is going to save your spine from completely giving out.
Take a close look at this, because it is so incredibly profound. It is a massive, frustrating mistake to spend 9 solid months intentionally draining your body's strength and letting your muscle mass slowly disappear. Why? because you are doing this right before you have to endure the agonizing marathon of labor and the long, grueling recovery process that follows. You are intentionally detraining during the hardest physical challenge that your body will ever have to heal and recover from. It's literally like preparing for an ultramarathon by staying in bed for 9 months. It makes zero sense.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought, and I want you to really think about it and share it with absolutely every single woman you know. Ask yourself, why on earth would you intentionally weaken your physical amana, your God-given physical trust, and let your muscles waste away right before the absolute most demanding, exhausting marathon of your entire life? Your body is an incredibly powerful vessel. It was brilliantly designed to endure hardship and to literally build human life. Do not lock it away. Keep your strength up, move smartly in sync with your hormones, and please take beautiful care of this tremendous amana.